It started with a lump, and that turned into an ultrasound, which I guess resulted in a mammogram, and then a biopsy, and then a long, or whatever felt like a really long wait, then a meeting with my GP, and then finally a meeting with the surgeon who confirmed that ultimately it was breast cancer. I think that day, of having to find out for myself and then share the horrible news with those closest to me, was far and away the worst day of my entire ordeal.
Brooke Moss and 1 in 9 Canadian women will endure breast cancer. Last year, more than 23,000 Canadian women were diagnosed with breast cancer, and 5,000 will die from it.
I told my mom right away because she knew that something was happening, and that was hard, but it was not as hard as telling my dad.
Brooke's oncologist at the BC Cancer Agency is Dr. Karen Gelmon.
So no one will really tell you what you should do, but what Karen Gelmon does is give you the information that you need so you can make a smart decision. I found out what kind of chemo I was going to have. Dr. Gelmon gave me a couple of options. It was 4 rounds of chemo every 2 weeks, 1 every 2 weeks. Then the second part of it would be, I think it's called paclitaxel, and that was 4 rounds of chemo once every 3 weeks. I was mad that I would have to put my life on hold for 16 weeks and, you know, potentially not be able to exercise or not be able to go to work or not be able to see my friends, to feel horrible, to be throwing up, all of those things that you hear. I should say I lost every hair on my body. The end of December, I shaved my head, and by March, I think I'd lost all my eyelashes, my eyebrows, everything. The big question that's always been in my mind and will probably still be there forever is, why did this happen to me?
The decoding of the human genome has created new research opportunities that could help detect breast cancers earlier, improve treatment, and cure more women. Canadian Friends of Hebrew University and BC Cancer Foundation are proud to create a research partnership on breast cancer between 2 of the top scientific labs in the world, IMRIC, the Institute for Medical Research Israel Canada, and the BC Cancer Agency. Dr. Karen Gelmon is one of the leaders of this collaboration, and she's being honored for her outstanding scientific work in treatment and in research.
So when you tell someone you're an oncologist, it's always a conversation stopper at any party. I think sometimes what's enjoyable is finding new treatments and seeing treatments that are successful, or realizing that this year we're able to treat this person so much better than we could have a decade ago. So I was brought up in Saskatoon, where there was a conservative synagogue, and my family was involved with the community there. My parents were very involved with both the Jewish and the non-Jewish community. When I was young, we did keep kosher, and my mother had to import all her meat from Winnipeg. There was a real expectation for all 4 of us that we'd all go to university and we'd all do something professional and something worthwhile. My uncle was a hematologist and my father a dentist, and certainly there was some push for some of us to go into medical school. I didn't want to be a dentist. Well, when I was growing up, I was interested in medicine, and in particular, it sounds pretty creepy and peculiar, but I was interested in things like cancer and leukemia, partly because I'd read some books on it and partly because I would chat with my uncle. Then in high school, I thought, there's no way, I don't want to do medical school, it sounds too boring. So I went off and did a philosophy degree, traveled to Israel and lived in Israel for a year. And then during my degree realized that I wasn't in the right thing, so subsequently started taking sciences and applied to medical school. I'm one of those fortunate people who ended up doing something that I really like doing, and I'm lucky that I did make that decision to go to medical school.
Karen's husband is Peter Busby, a writer and historian. They have two daughters, Sophie, who has a master's in art history, and Isabel, who is currently attending university.
When I was at Hebrew U in Jerusalem, it was exciting.
Since opening in 1921, the Hebrew University of Jerusalem is the academic home of the Jewish people.
And we all know that the future of the world and this city and the future of ourselves starts and ends with one word: science.
Founded by Albert Einstein, Sigmund Freud, and other leading intellectuals, Hebrew University preserves and enriches Jewish thought and creates a better, safer world with its first-rate research and real-world solutions in medicine, biotechnology, agriculture, and animal sciences. Ranked #1 in academic excellence in Israel, Hebrew University faculty and students conduct 43% of all biotechnology research in Israel and 40% of all civilian scientific research. There are 3,000 ongoing research projects across 100 research institutes. Since 1921, 7 Nobel Prizes have been awarded to Hebrew University alumni or full-time academics. Within Hebrew University's Faculty of Medicine is IMRIC, the Institute for Medical Research, Israel, Canada, bringing together top scientists in a multidisciplinary approach to biomedical research.
There's a lot going on in breast cancer research right now, but the majority of the work that I'm most interested in is looking at different predictive factors that is going to tell us more about the different kinds of breast cancer and is also going to tell us how to treat breast cancer more effectively. A number of the researchers at IMRIC at Hebrew University in Jerusalem are doing work on those kinds of predictive factors, are doing work to further understand the different kinds of breast cancer, and are doing work that I can see has potential to change the way we will treat breast cancer.
Our research is really focused on trying to understand which genes control breast cancers and turn them into aggressive and malignant tumors. The potential collaboration with the British Columbia Cancer Agency is very exciting because they treat hundreds and thousands of breast cancer patients and have very, very large collections of patient samples and also really cutting-edge techniques in the molecular analysis of these tumors.
It would be really nice if we could bridge between Jerusalem and Vancouver.
And that leads very well into the kind of work that Sam Aparicio and others in Vancouver are doing.
The BC Cancer Agency is a province-wide cancer control program for the thousands of cancer patients in British Columbia and the Yukon. The agency's team of healthcare professionals and scientists conduct research as well as develop and deliver state-of-the-art treatments for specific types of cancer, including breast cancers.
We've adopted a couple of approaches relating to the genomics and the genetics of breast cancer to try and understand how the variation that happens in breast cancer among breast cancer patients might inform us about what it is, which genes are the most important ones in terms of driving breast cancer malignancy. A very large part of our work is trying to track down what are the most frequent genomic abnormalities in breast cancer using some of the latest so-called next-generation DNA sequencing methodologies. Some of these cancers may have a strong epigenetic imprint, and that's a strong interest in the Hebrew University, and so we're very excited to be able to collaborate with them.
And that's one of the great things about this partnership with Hebrew University and IMRIC, is that we have the chance to put dollars in the hands of two world-class organizations that are really making a difference in the lives of women who've been touched by cancer. The donor dollars will fund questions that otherwise might not be asked and find solutions that otherwise might not be found. We know that when we look back at this partnership after 3 or 5 years, this was something that was very special, a moment in time that made a difference for women with breast cancer.
I decided that there was no way I was going to be a victim or that this sickness was going to overtake my life. And I was going to be me, and in fact I was going to be an even better me if I could.
Your support of this unique breast cancer research partnership could improve the lives of thousands of wives, sisters, mothers and daughters.